Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I have something very special for y'all today. It's one of my favorite decks, Fossil Dyna Stun. However, I do have some variations to make this deck more able to play going second if your opponent forces you to. However, we're going to go ahead and hop into the video and I'll explain what each card does. Alright, so starting off, we do run 3 copies of Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo. For those who don't know what this card does, it says that if it is flipped face up, you can destroy all special summon monsters on the field, and this also has another effect that says while this card is on the field, neither player can special summon monsters, which is really good. Moving on, we do run the 3 copies of Inspector Border. For those who don't know what this card does, it says that you cannot normal summon it if you control another monster. However, it can be set and flipped up on the next turn if you do have another monster on field, so that it works around that pretty much. This card's effect says that neither player can activate monster effects unless they control a monster from the Xyz, Pendulum, whatever, like the extra deck monsters plus rituals, and they can only use effects equal to that much. So let's say they controlled only one extra deck monster that's a fusion, then they can only activate 1 effect. If they had a fusion and link, then that's 2. If they had 2 fusions, then they can still only activate 1. Alright, really a difficult card to explain what it does, but really good card for the deck. Continuing on, I like to run 3 copies of Condemned Witch. For those who don't know what this card does, because this card isn't seen much play, especially in stun decks, this card says that when it's normal summoned, you can search for a forbidden quick play spell card. So that could be like your Forbidden Chalice, your Forbidden Droplet. I cannot afford Droplet, so we will not be running it. Honestly, Forbidden Chalice is just a better card for this anyway. However, it does have a secondary effect where on your opponent's main phase, you can tribute this card to special summon 1 level 4 fairy monster from your deck. So of course, the main target for that is the 1 copy of Barrier Statue of the Heavens. Really good card. For those who don't know what it does, neither player can special summon monsters except for light monsters. And this deck doesn't really do much special summoning except for the summoning of the Light Barrier Statue. To wrap up the monsters, we do run 3 copies of Guiding Aradni. This card says we don't really use the monster effect that much. However, it can come up. But the main use of this effect is while this card is in your Pendulum scale, it has the effect of you do not have to pay life points or you do not have to discard to activate counter traps. So you don't have to pay for your Solemn Negates. Really good card. And the monster effect is if it's destroyed by battle or card effect. If it's just destroyed, you can reveal 3 counter traps. Your opponent picks 1 and adds it to your hand. Alright, moving on to the spell cards. I run 3 copies of Power of the Guardians. This card is an amazing equip spell that says that you can equip it to 1 monster, and then each time that monster is involved in an attack, whether that be it's attacking or an opponent attacks your monster, you put 1 spell counter on this card, and that monster gains 500 attack per spell counter on the card. And if that monster will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can remove 1 counter to protect it. Really good card. And continuing on, I run 3 copies of Moon Mirror Shield. This card says that whenever your monster attacks or is attacked, it gains the opponent's. It looks at the opponent's monster, and your monster's attack becomes either which one's higher, the attack or defense of the monster, plus 100. So this pretty much just says get over any monster your opponent has on the field, just by increasing the attack, which is amazing. That's it for the equip cards. Moving on to the rest of the spells, I do run 3 copies of Extravagance to kind of just search through your deck, and it's practically a free pot of greed for this deck. Continuing on, we do run 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice for the Condemned Witch, and then we run 2 copies of Book of Moon. You can pick something else for this spot. I like Book of Moon because it comes up to kind of stop your opponent's effects or just stuff like that. Like, really good card. Moving on to the trap cards, I run, of course, 3 copies of Solemn Judgment, 3 copies of Solemn Warning, 3 copies of Solemn Strike. This is it for the negate traps. Really good package here, and if you have the Guiding Aradni on your field, You don't have to pay any life points for their activation. Continuing on, I do run the 3 copies of Dimensional Guardian. What this card does is you can you activate it by targeting one face-up attack position monster you control. That card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect as long as this card is on the field. So mainly you can use that to summon your barrier statue, and then you can protect it, or you can use it to protect any of your monsters, which is really good. And then to wrap up the trap cards, we do run the 2 copies of Armory Call. This card says that you can search for an equip spell, and then you can immediately activate and equip it to a monster you control. So main use for this, of course, is being like, you summon out your light barrier statue, you flip this, you put Moon Mirror Shield on, and now your opponent can't really get over it that easily. Moving on to the extra deck. The extra deck is really not too important for this deck. However, with the side deck, we can actually use it somewhat. So we run 3 copies of Last Warrior from Another Planet. This card says that when it is summoned, destroy all cards you control, like all other monsters you control, and then neither player can summon monsters, period. So if you can summon this before your opponent can summon a monster, then your opponent's just locked out of being able to summon monsters as long as this card's on the field. Moving on, we do run the 3 copies of Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon. The main use for this is it's just a pop a card per turn. And then we run 3 copies of Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon. This card is unaffected by your opponent's card effects, and it is a 3,500 attack monster. Alright, and then continuing on, we do run 3 copies of Beals. This card says that it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and whenever you take damage from an attack involving this card, so like if I attack a monster that has higher attack, then this card gains attack equal to the damage I took. So really good card. And then we do run the 1 copy of Cypher Lord Omega, then the Mirror Jade, and then the 1 copy of Thousand Eyes Restricted. Alright, and moving on to the side deck, we of course run the 3 copies of Waking the Dragon. Main reason why we run this is for the extra deck, and if your what this card does, for those who don't know what it does, it says that if it leaves the field due to an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a monster from either the deck or your extra deck for pretty much no cost, except for this card being sent there by an opponent's card effect. Then you run 3 copies of Trap Trick. Main reason why you want to run this is so that way you can chain this if your opponent activates Lightning Storm or a Harpy's Feather Dust or something like that, and you can set the Waking the Dragon, so that way they're kind of forced into popping Waking the Dragon. I also do run 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster to go with the Trap Trick, really good card. Then I run 1 copy of Armory Call, just in case you really, because there are some games where you just need to see your monsters with an equip spell to get over your opponent's field. Then to wrap up the side deck, you want to run 3 Twin Twisters. And then for my locals, there's a lot of Cyber Dragon players for some reason, so I run 3 copies of System Down to banish all copies of any machine monsters from their field or from their graveyard. Alright guys, so that's about it for the video. Be sure to like the video, leave a comment down below what you want to see next, and if you enjoyed, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.